Okay, hello. So, I had to delete a lot of videos to be able to record this, so I hope that this does something. I hope that this is useful to somebody. I don't fucking know. So, there's this person, and I feel like so redundant because I feel like I talk about this person so often, and I feel like I talk about this person with such a clear-headed understand. It's like, why am I still talking about this? Why is this still something that's present in my life? You know what I mean? Like, that, to me, I feel stupid because I'm like, what? And like, maybe this person doesn't have nefarious intentions for me. Maybe this person isn't as malicious as I'm perceiving them to be. But like, I am finding myself being quite triggered by this person, and it doesn't feel like this person is a safe space enough for me to like work through that. I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking out loud here, cause like, I don't know. I because I noticed yesterday, and like, whether or not this person watches this video, beyond me, I don't care. Because I've suggested maybe don't fucking watch my videos. But like, I noticed yesterday we were having a relatively intense conversation, and he had said something along the lines of like, well, if you don't want to give me sexual energy, then like, I'm gonna have to walk away. He said that, and I knew in my head intuitively, I was like, you don't mean that. Why do you say that? And then when I called him out on it, he he backtracked, and he was like, I didn't say that. I said X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, there's a tiny part of me that finds a tiny bit of pride in the fact that I have this person around my finger. But then there's a bigger chunk of me that feels really bad because I am in a way manipulating the situation in the way that I am. But then there's a part of me that feels less bad because I know that he is also in a way being manipulative, and like, I think the difference between us is that I consciously recognize it and I'm willing to own up to it. You know, meanwhile, he wants to like maintain this energy of like, I'm innocent, I don't know, I'm not a manipulator, I wouldn't purposely try to persuade you or like, you know, change your mind or whatever. Okay. I don't know. I think in the grand scheme of it, there's really no right or wrong when it comes to like who you should be with. You know, there's like compatibility, there's values, there's morals, and like, you know, things like that. There's things like that exist. But I don't think that there's an inherent right or wrong, like you shouldn't be with this person, or you can't be with this person, or you have to be with this person. And I don't know, because I do a lot of, people ask me for relationship stuff all the fucking time, and so I do have to reflect on it. It's not even like I can avoid it. Like, I rarely get people asking me about like career or like money or stuff like that, but people all the time are asking me about like, how does he feel about me? Can I trust this person? Like, all this stuff. And so I often reflect on my relationship to relationships, you know what I mean? Because it comes up so often in my work. And I don't know, for the most part, when I'm giving relationship readings or advice or guidance, I do try to add the caveat of free will. And like, you know, just because I'm telling you that this is what the energy is doesn't mean you have to do anything about it. You know, because a lot of times I end up saying, I don't think you should be with this person. This person is not good for you. But like, if you want to be with somebody who isn't good for you, that's up to you. That's your free will, you know? But just be wary of the consequences is like the biggest thing that I try to emphasize. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that's why I feel so stupid, because I'm in a situation, I feel like, my perception, I'm in a situation that is expired, that I shouldn't be in anymore. And I'm still here. The world hasn't split in two. You know, like, the world is still spinning. So, I mean, it's not the end of the fucking world. But like, I, in my heart of hearts, am like, I shouldn't be here. But then I think back to this analogy of like a car or like a bus, or no, it's a bus. Like, if you get on a bus or a train or whatever and you miss your stop, and the train keeps going or the bus keeps going, but you miss your stop, you could choose to get off at the next stop, or you could just keep going until you end up in the middle of Timbuktu. Or maybe it's one of those bus stations where it goes around in a circle, and then I guess eventually you'll end up back to where you needed to go. But like, you know what I mean? basically the analogy is that, like, if you know that you're not supposed to be, like, if you know where you're supposed to be going, and you're not, you know what I mean, like, you have the opportunity to get off, like, shortly after, it would be better to get off shortly after than just to wait, you know, because I've got, actually, and I haven't thought about this whenever I thought about that analogy, but I actually did get lost on a bus at least once in my life, and it was terrifying. I think I was supposed to be going to work or something, and I hadn't ridden the buses before, or maybe it was like a special day. I don't know what it was, but like I was riding the bus and it went past where I was supposed to go, but I didn't know that, and so I just kept going. I'm crossing the street, and so I just kept going, and eventually I think I ended up back to where I started. But like the moral of what I'm saying is that if you know that you're not, you're not in the right place, it's better to get off sooner rather than later, because then who knows where you'll end up, you know what I mean? And I like to believe that I have enough wherewithal, that I have enough of the universal forces on my side, that it doesn't really matter how many bad decisions I make, because I'll be fine. I'd like to believe that. And whether or not that's true is slightly separate, but like I would like to believe that, and I think that would be the truth. But well, I'm not going to say that. I mean, I'd like to believe that that's the truth, but I do also recognize and understand that, like, regardless of that sentiment, like, there are still certain things that you as an individual have to do to kind of make sure that certain things happen, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the idea of people going to a psychic asking, like, when will I be a millionaire, or will I be a millionaire? And it's like, bitch, you don't even have a job. What are you talking about? Like, how did you think that was going to manifest? You know, you're not even doing anything to make money. Like, it's like, unless it's one of those rare cases where, like, they were the heir to, like, some sort of Fortune 500 company or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I said Fortune 500. I don't even know what that means. I might have to look that up afterwards. And like, I say that to say, and generally, if you're wanting certain things out of life, like, you have to do certain things. You have to take certain steps and whatnot. Unless you happen to be the exception to the rule. Unless you happen to be the heir of some sort of billionaire or something. You know what I mean? If that's the case, then sure, fuck yeah. Lounge around and fucking be lazy. You know what I mean? But there's always something, some sort of choice that you could take, some sort of action. You know what I mean? And I don't know, this is kind of a rambly video. I imagine that the person I'm talking about is going to watch this at some point. I don't know. I'm not putting too much stock into that. I'm not thinking too much about whether or not he'll see this. But like, life is crazy. And I think it's really important to have people that you can trust in your life. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like, I barely trust myself most of the time. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, how can I trust anybody else? I barely trust myself, you know? And it's funny because some people will get offended if you don't trust them. And it's like, how are you mad that I don't trust you? I don't even trust my own family. Like, what do you mean? You should be able to trust me. Yeah, you mean? Okay. Do you know how many people I've met with such wonderful smiling faces who turned out to be like the devil incarnate? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, people be like, and like, because there's degrees to manipulation, you know? And I think one of those aspects is like not even being aware that you are being manipulative, so not being able to stop yourself when you are being that way, you know what I mean? Because I think to some degree we are all manipulative. Like, when you look at the biology of human, like, babies, before they can speak, they cry to manipulate their parents to like hold them and feed them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because they can't physically be like, hey, I'm hungry. Hey, I just made a boo-boo. You know, they can't say that. So like, they have to figure out a way to like communicate that. And like, biologically, I guess that's just how that works. And then as we grow, we develop different ways to get what we want, get what we need. We start using words. And some of us, depending on our maturity level, we use those words properly and truthfully and honestly, you know. And then there's those of us who don't really use their words in that way, you know. And it's like, no judgment, it's no no shame. And when I say that, it's just, it is what it is, you know? Like, and like, I know that I can be manipulative, but I try to do it in a way that is like respectful, in a way that is caring, that is considerate, you know? And I don't think a lot of people do that when they're trying to get their needs met. They're just like, well, let me just do anything and everything I can do to try to get this. And some people include lying. And some people include lying to themselves, which is beyond me. I cannot imagine being dishonest with myself. Like, I have a really hard talk with myself like every other day, honestly. I was gonna say every week, but honestly, like almost every day, I'm like, let's be fucking real with ourselves, bitch, because what the fuck is you doing? You know what I mean? Like, that's sometimes how I talk to myself. And I got chills when I did that. Did you get chills? There's a bunch of geese. Geese. I think I'm doing really, really well. Without saying too much, I've been doing decently on my savings account. I got a savings account, and I've been doing decently with that. And I've been doing this sale thing on social media for like readings, $2 readings. And by the time you see this, maybe I'll be done with that. I don't know. I don't know, because I don't post these the same day anymore. But I've been doing that, and it's been really fruitful. I'm thankful for that. And I don't know, I'm just waiting patiently for the next like big thing, you know. And maybe that's a fruitless endeavor. Maybe that's a silly way to look at it, waiting for something to happen. But it's not like I'm just sitting around waiting. Like, you know, I'm putting myself out there. I'm doing different things, you know what I mean? I'm working on different projects. Like, I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. You know, which, if I think about that for 2 seconds, I think it's so funny to think that anybody would assume that I am like somehow lucky, or like, you know what I mean? Because people have that mindset. People will look at other people and get jealous and be like, why do they get to do that? Why do they get to have those opportunities? And it's like, bitch, because I worked for this. It's because I've been putting myself out there consistently, bitch. What the fuck? You think I just woke up one day and this just fucking happened? Like, what the fuck? No. And I guess to some degree, for some people, that is how that works. Because once again, there's always a rule. There's always an exception to the rule. You know what I mean? There's always somebody who's an outlier when it comes to a commonality. And there are people who like literally get to like just wake up one day and like their life is just completely different. But even then, I feel like there's some sort of effort that has to be put into it. I don't know. Once again, there are exceptions to the rule, but you know what I mean? And speaking from my perspective, I'm like, I know all the fucking work that I put in. I know the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So, like, if I were to magically be, like, a millionaire tomorrow, it wouldn't be, like, out of the ordinary. It wouldn't be, like, some, like, luck of the draw. Like, it would be because I've been consistently fucking working towards that. You know what I mean? Not a millionaire specifically. I think $1 million is a lot. But you know what I mean? Like, hard work pays off eventually, you know? I kind of stopped filming for a second because I was walking past some people and I didn't want to be perceived. maybe I'm being self-conscious, but I was applauding myself, and I should have also been applauding myself for like my kind of sobriety journey. I'm not really trying to be super sober, but I am trying to get a hold of, how do I say this, like the effects that drug use has in my life, you know what I mean? Because I personally believe, and I've written a book where I talked about it, like, you know, you can check it out, link tree in the bio, fuck yeah. But I've written a book about, like, you know, how, you know, drugs aren't inherently bad. Like, it's not a book about drugs, just to clarify. It's not a book about drugs, but I do talk a lot about my history with substance abuse. And I don't believe drugs are inherently bad. I think it's the way that we use them. You know, I think because we use them so mindlessly, it can end up really bad. Like, I'm not a drinker, but every time I have drank, most of the time I make sure that I have a clear intention. Like, I'm not just drinking, just, you know what I mean? Like, I set an intention, because specifically alcohol, they call it spirits, and as a person who works with spirits, I'm not about to just like drink something all willy-nilly called spirits, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't compute for me. So whenever I have drank, I make sure to set an intention. Now when it comes to smoking, that's a different thing, and I can get kind of mindless with that. But either way, because I also used to smoke meth when I was homeless, And I talk about that in the book, and I talk about how I kind of got out of that and like my navigating of that situation. And once again, I think it's a really big thing to have intention when you're doing these things. Like, I'm not going to ever say you shouldn't party, you shouldn't have fun or whatever, but I think the intention that you set behind it is really important. You know, even if it is just to have fun, I think that should be a clear intention. Like, I don't think you should just leave it to chance, you know, especially if you are a person who is watching this video in this moment. To some degree, that would mean that your awareness is somewhere close to mine, maybe, possibly, I don't know. I would have to assume. And so if that's true, like, the more that you grow in your awareness, the more you have to be kind of mindful of like how your energy is projected and like what you're consuming energetically, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really important to, and I think that's also why a lot of geniuses like turn into addicts and stuff, because they are so aware of everything, but they're not willing to like adjust to their awareness, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh yeah, I know that this is going on, but like, I'm just going to continue doing what I do adjacent to it and not think too much about it, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not how it works. Like, you now know new information, now you have to utilize it, you know? For example, like, if you're somebody who has like a 9 to 5, right? And you understand that capitalism is dead. You understand that capitalism is like killing us, like literally, physically, spiritually. And you understand that on some level, but you still go to your 9 to 5 and you don't ever do anything to counteract that knowledge. You know, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't have a 9 to 5, so this message doesn't apply to me. I haven't had a 9 to 5 in a while. But like, you know what I mean? Like, when you become aware of certain things, to some degree, it's necessary for you to adjust how you live to that awareness. Like, you can't just, like, for another example, like, this is a truth I think that a lot of us might resonate with, but like, when you recognize that a lot of people are kind of like walking around as zombies and like totally unaware of themselves and how they're coming across and all that jazz, when you recognize that, you have to some degree learn to protect yourself and protect your energy. You can't just walk around interacting with people all willy-nilly before you knew that information, you know what I mean? And obviously, if that doesn't resonate, then it doesn't resonate, but this is a truth that a lot of us have come to. Like, there's a lot of people in the world who are, and psychology has kind of affirmed this, you know? There's a lot of people who are kind of just walking around mindless, you know, to some degree. And it's no shade, it's not supposed to be like, you know, it just is what it is, like the NPC thing, like, that's a real thing to some degree. And when you recognize that, once again, you don't just walk around all willy-nilly not acknowledging that, you know, you integrate that into your daily living. And so, what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying that led to this, but oh yeah, I was saying, because that's why geniuses turn to addiction and shit like that, because, oh shit, there's a truck behind me, I did not see that. Because we recognize so fucking much, and we like become so aware, and it's like, it's painful to some degree to be so aware, to be so like knowing, you know? And then when you don't adjust to that knowing, it's like, you're not helping yourself, you're just hurting it, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm back. That kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, there's a person behind me. But yeah, like, when you raise in your awareness, you have to kind of adjust the way that you live. And I say you have to. You don't necessarily have to do anything that you don't want to do, technically, free will. But if you want a relatively decent life, relatively decent experiences, you do kind of have to adjust to like your newfound awareness. And I think a lot of people would rather live in fantasy, you know? And so they gain awarenesses, but then they like kind of bog it down. They're like, well, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this isn't how it really is. And it's like, what? You know, I remember when it's a funny memory to think about whenever I think about this. When I was working at Dunkin' Donuts, and there was a moment where my awareness shifted and I kind of recognized how low-key, like, demonic people were. Like, I already kind of knew, like, I've had other experiences like this, but I remember one specific moment when I was working there, and I think I went to the bathroom or something, and, like, because it was just so overwhelming, and I just had to get out, and, like, it was just, like, so apparent to me that people were, like, just out of their fucking minds, and, like, And I think about this and I think about the other experiences all the time, like, as to why I'm so fucking afraid to talk to people, why I'm so afraid to like connect with people and like get, making new friends, because I've had these experiences where it's just like people are fucking crazy. People are fucking evil, and once again, no judgment. Like everybody is who they are, and we're all here for a reason. Whatever. But like I had that awareness, and I don't ever forget about that. I don't walk around forgetting about, like, maybe consciously. I don't consciously. I'm not saying that I'm like a paranoid freak, but like like it is integrated into my being. Like these experiences, these awarenesses. I hope the audio is okay for this video, because it has been windy on and off, and I didn't really account for that. I didn't think about that. I have an earphone in connected to the phone, so maybe that'll help, but I don't know. Bottom line, what is the bottom line of this video? I don't know. I've kind of rambled on and off. Awareness requires integration. That is one thing that I said in this. I can't remember what else I said. I know I said a lot of things. This is a 20-minute fucking video. I know I said a lot of things. But, yeah, I don't know. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Hope this was useful. Hope this was helpful. And if it was, you should make sure to engage with the video. Duh. And if it wasn't, you should still engage with the video, because I fucking asked you to, and you're still watching. Why did you watch a 21-minute video and you don't plan on engaging with it? That's kind of fucking weird. That's a waste of your time. But I thank you for your time and your energy. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Stay groovy, stay hydrated, take care of yourself. Bye!